Hey everybody, welcome back to eXp Family Tree. It's nice to see you guys here. And for those of you watching live stream, hello as well. We're glad that you're watching. Super excited to have my business partner, Catherine Friedman, here again with Habitats by Cat. And she's got some really unique experiences prior to real estate that she's going to bring into the conversation today that I think is going to help all of you continue to be better and do better for your clients, gain more repeat and referral business, and just grow your business at a high level. And, you know, sometimes I think those of us that came from outside of the real estate industry bring some really unique skills and experiences and training that we got in corporate America or other fields that can really benefit us in real estate. You know, I've been in real estate for 25 years and that's all I know. And so I love learning from people who have been in other industries and fields because I missed that. I pretty much got into real estate at 23 and that's all I've known. So I always love learning from others. I love learning from Kat. I get a chance to chat with her often as a business partner of mine, and I'm excited that she's taking a little bit of time to talk with us today as well. So I'm going to let Kat take it away. If you guys are watching this later, you're probably watching it on YouTube. Feel free to share this with friends or colleagues that could use this information. Of course, at any company, we just love to bless people wherever they might be. If you guys are watching live in Workplace, just remember it is always live streamed in eXp Family Tree. So you can go back and watch this anytime that you want. And if you do want to communicate with Kat and I, go ahead and chat below the live stream. I'll monitor that so that we can field some questions at the end. If you are here live, make sure you chat in the chat box if you have any questions. And don't forget to chat in the chat box where you service clients in case we can be referral partners for each other. So, all right, Kat, go ahead and take it away. I can see your screen. It all looks great.
Okay, thank you so much. And a little background on me before I get started in the presentation today. I've been in New York City since 2015. Prior to getting into real estate, I started in real estate 2018. I was full-time in real estate since summer of 2019. I worked for Marriott Hotels for almost 10 years. So that's really all I knew was hospitality and the hotel business. My most recent job at Marriott was a senior account executive. I represented Marriott and Starwood brands globally. I managed a corporate account portfolio of about 40 million. So always had sales experience, and I wanted to transfer that into real estate. I've sold over $20 million of real estate, including COVID, when we were not showing any homes and we did not have an upswing like some of the other markets across the country. And so I do attribute a lot of that to really having that client service experience and that sales experience that I was able to bring over into my real estate experience, which we'll talk about today. Outside of being at eXp Realty, I started with eXp earlier this year in April. I also own a travel agency. So if you're interested in learning about that, you can drop a question in the comment area. I'm actually growing both combined. So the same brand, both selling real estate and travel. So the topics I'm going to talk about today, the first one, which I think will be fun, and I'm hoping everyone can chime in with any comments, questions, or aha moments as I go through each page, is dealing with people, how to increase your closure ratio with buyer deals, unique ways to represent listings, or maybe things you haven't thought about doing that's just a really easy extra step, some communication tips, especially via email, and marketing ideas that highlight the service that you provide. So people management. I thought this was the best way to kick off this presentation because the most challenging aspect of being a real estate agent is dealing with people. And actually, it really has nothing to do with the real estate. When you think about your toughest transaction, whether it was a buyer, a seller, or a rental, it was really difficult because of the people involved. Maybe it was a difficult client, another difficult agent, a mortgage lender, an inspector, an appraiser. Whoever it may be, people complicate things. And if you are somebody that can problem solve and be resourceful and work through those people problems, you will sell real estate. That will all be the effect of dealing with people. And I just think that's a really good thing to remind yourself of and to think about when you're stressed or when you're dealing with something difficult, whether it's a client, a deal, or emails back and forth. if this was easy, everybody would do it. And I think people management is across any industry. If you talk to the CEOs of major companies, they've all mastered people management. They are where they are because they know how to deal with people. I thought an interesting statistic here that was worth noting is in the field of entrepreneurship, which all realtors are entrepreneurs. A massive analysis of the traits of 65,000 business owners, as well as the growth of profitable and companies that have longevity, it showed that high EQ was much more predictive of success than a high IQ. So it even shows in the numbers that emotional intelligence, understanding others and the way they feel towards you or towards a situation, is very important, and it's critical in what we do, especially in challenging markets like we are in right now. So before I go on, does anyone just have like a comment or a question, or something that this is reminding them of, maybe a deal or a past client? Everyone's shy.
I know. It usually takes a while for a warm up.
No worries.
Well, that was kind of funny because you mentioned that the emotional intelligence. I had some clients I was working with, and I literally felt like I was a marriage counselor through the entire process to keep them both on the same page and focused on moving forward through the process. So it's amazing the traits you got to take on when doing this, but it's a lot of fun.
But you bring up a really good point, because I think some real estate agents create a roadblock in their head and they will say, that is not my job. I'm not dealing with this. We're staying focused on the deal. And it's actually really reframing your head to realize, no, that is exactly what your job is. Because if you don't address this emotional or personal issue, the deal is not happening. So it's really just coming to grips with the fact that, yeah, you could be a therapist one day, a psychologist, you could be helping someone with their kid or just hearing about their day at work. Who knows what it is, but you're dealing with people, and people have all kinds of problems. And when it comes to residential real estate, forget it. It's a wildly personal investment. It is one of the highest investments that someone makes in their entire life. So they already are high stress. And in a lot of situations, we're seeing, I hate to say this, but we're seeing the worst in our clients, depending on the situation. I know I've had amazing clients, but in that moment, within that transaction, they've been brutal just because of the stress, right? And it's not who they are. It was just that moment in time. And being able to manage that is really important as a real estate agent. So I hope that was something that people can take away.
Exactly. Okay. Well, you need to have the thick skin. You've got to realize they're not mad at you. They're just frustrated with the situation. So as long as you remember they're not mad at you, you just need to kind of work through that. That helps a lot.
100%. Yeah, it really does. Don't take it personally. Have a calm, cool head is the best way to keep a deal moving forward. That's for sure. So I wanted to chat about buyers, because when I was new into real estate, I found a lot of success with buyer deals. And I think it stemmed from when I was at Marriott. I had to originate. So all of my clients had to come to me first for me to get financial credit for any booking at any Marriott hotel. So I was able to train my clients into coming directly to me versus calling, the Marriott in New York directly to get pricing. And I was able to take that into being a buyer's agent as a newer agent in the city, and also train buyers how, no, you have to come to me for everything. You're not going to go directly on Zillow or on Trulia and contact listing agents, because more times than not, you're cut out of the deal entirely. So anyone who is frustrated working with buyers, runs around and can't get a deal done, I really hope I can re-energize your activities with that, because it's definitely possible. And one of the best things about working with buyers is that you're building your pipeline of listings. So I think it's always important to be a buyer's agent, whether you have a lot of experience or not. So the first thing I want to talk about is how to centralize the process. When I'm explaining to a buyer how I support them, I reiterate, centralize the process over and over and over again. Because most buyers do not want to be called, solicited, and be on everyone's marketing email lists with these different agents within your marketplace, right? So one way you centralize the process is they're only going to hear from you as their agent. If they're going to reach out one-off to all these different agents, they're going to be put on all of those agents, like in their database. They're going to get emails, they're going to get called. And in the meantime, they've got jobs, families, and lives. Why would they want to be called by all of these different people? You have to be home base. So I really make that one of the biggest focus points of my conversation when I'm first trying to win over a customer. Because operationally, if you are a buyer and you don't have an agent, it is a lot of work. And most people have a full-time job already. So trying to buy a home is at least another part-time job. And you can really dumb that down with all of the things you do, reaching out to agents, making sure properties are available, scheduling showing, what's access for showing, when are the open houses, can you answer these questions about the property? I think in some way, stating the obvious to a buyer client isn't the obvious to them. It's only feels obvious to you, but going through the roadmap of how you support a buyer is really important because they don't know unless you tell them. Another strategy I've used that's been really successful, if you're doing any, lead gen, like through Zillow or through Realtor.com, is the moment I get a new buyer lead, I have an introduction email that I send to every single buyer client, and it tries to promote them into scheduling a Zoom consultation with me. That is why I want to do a buyer consultation on video and get to know them before I meet them in person and go through my process and how I work with them as a buyer. And I think the Zoom meeting is a very professional way to meet a client for the first time. And it's a way to gauge if they're serious or not, right? If someone won't get on a Zoom call with you in this day and age, maybe they're not ready to buy right now, and then you know how to prioritize them. But when they are ready to buy, they will get on a Zoom call with you. They will want to hear you out. And it's just another step in earning their trust, right? So that's something I would highly recommend getting into your daily routine. Something else that I do that was really common in hospitality and the hotel business is area guides. So if you're working with a client and they're focused on a couple different neighborhoods, I would start putting together collateral, marketing flyers, a blog, anything about those areas and what you like about them. Highlight small businesses in those areas, right? Because again, that client's expecting you to be the expert. And so they also want you to be an expert in where they want to buy. So if you have something to reference, a flyer, a blog, something on your website or social media, it immediately makes the buyer think like, oh, they've done deals there before because they've got all this information about that area. They wouldn't have that unless they've done deals in that area. So I think this is a great strategy, especially if you're a new agent and you're nervous about people asking you how many deals you've done. The more information and value you provide someone up front, the less likely they are to grill you on your past deals. So that's something that you should definitely implement. The next best practice I have is showing sheets. I designed my own showing sheet in Canva, but it's basically every time I go out with a buyer client, I keep track of the address, the day that we saw that unit, and notes and feedback my client had about that property. If you don't want your showing sheet to be like so custom and designed in that way, do a Google spreadsheet. Right? It's a web link, it's live. You can update it at the end of your day when you've had showings with them. It can be shared with the client and it keeps everybody on the same page. And it also is a huge benefit to your buyer because they are also going to forget the places they've seen. They're going to forget what they liked and what they didn't like. And if you just keep track of it, you're showing your value as their agent. Also, having a process of scheduling showings I've found to be really helpful. And I talk about that a lot on my Zoom consultations because a lot of times access to homes can be very different. If someone's living there, if someone's not living there, are they home? Are they on vacation? So trying to get a sense from your client with when are they available to see homes? Is it Saturdays? Is it Sundays? Is it evenings after work? Everybody has a different schedule. Ask them theirs up front so that when you're arranging showings, you know that this is when they're going to be available and you're on the same page so that operationally it's smooth for you and it's smooth for your client. And then setting expectations, you know, if you're speaking with buyers and they're asking you questions about the process, this is the best time to go through your past experiences or deals that you've had and things that went wrong and how you resolved those problems. And things come up, and so setting their expectation with you're going to need to do a walkthrough, you're going to need to get pre-approved, you're going to need to get a lawyer if you're in an attorney state, right? Whatever your market has, it's probably unique to your market. So you know what that is. Set the precedent. Whatever roadmap you show them, this is the process, make sure it's detailed. And then it's addressing things that maybe you haven't addressed in your last deal that someone got upset with you because it wasn't addressed. And then it came up last minute and they were surprised. So this should be constantly evolving because I find that someone gets upset or surprised by something and it's never happened before. It's happening for the first time. So keep track of those things and then keep growing that out. So you're setting people's expectations with the whole process from start to finish and how truly every deal is different. And then just something for you to think about when you're trying to grow your business is what do your clients do for a living, right? If someone's trying to buy a home for over $1 million, they're probably successful. And so in their careers, they're problem solvers, they're entrepreneurial perhaps, they're, you know, a problem solving and setting expectations for their clients to avoid problems. So they expect the same from you. And it's really good to remember that because I think it can be totally forgot about that these are successful people. They think about what they do every day at work and they are expecting that from you as a bottom line. And so, you know, keep that in the back of your mind because if you show up for them the way they show up in their job, they're going to really recognize your hard work. So I'll move on to the next page unless anyone has a comment or a question. Okay.
Any questions? Okay.
No problem. Okay.
I see a ton of people. We have actually quite a few people watching live. No questions from them yet, but they are watching. So you guys
great.
Don't forget, chat in the chat box if you guys have any comments or questions.
Cool. So the next thing I'll talk about is listings. So these are just a couple things that I've used to win over sellers to make listings easier for me personally, just to get information out there once the listing is live and on the market. So the first thing is area marketing again here, you know, in the hotel and hospitality industry, we say social sustainability. It's such a massive topic, but people really care about it. It's not just a huge topic in hospitality in the hotel business. The area of where that home is means so much, and we're selling that lifestyle in addition to the real estate. And I think having some sort of collateral that you're providing buyers and agents when they're coming to the home, showing that local coffee shop or a pharmacy or a deli or whatever it may be, a dry cleaner, is so important because it's the personality of that neighborhood. And, you know, every time I'm at a showing in New York, more times than not, buyers are asking these questions, like, where can I get a coffee? Where should I go to dinner? And most of the time we're like Google mapping what's near the building because I live in New York City. And we should be prepared. We should have a QR code that links them to everywhere they want to go. So just something to keep in mind. It's one extra step that can go a really long way and can be added into your listing pitch as something that you value and prioritize when representing a seller. Video content. So many times I see listings up there that don't have any video. Even if you reach out, there isn't a simple video walkthrough that someone took on their cell phone. It doesn't have to be something someone pays a lot of money for, depending on what your marketing budget is. But in today's day and age, having video content, whether it be an Instagram reel, a TikTok, or just a video tour that you take on your cell phone and you have on file, it's so important because you can share it with buyers before they come to your open house. You can share it with agents so they can get a sense and have that preview before bringing their clients to the listing. And they just have a better sense of the home. They can better sell that home to their clients if you give them video content in addition to any photography. If you live in a market where there's a lot of people moving and relocating to your market, emphasize to sellers that you're going to do FaceTime showings. I do a lot of FaceTime showings for buyer clients in New York City, and you would be shocked with how impressed buyers are when you're willing to go out there and do a FaceTime showing for them. And it's so helpful for someone relocating to see something in real time in that way. So that's something so small that really goes a long way that you should be emphasizing. If you're looking to close on a new listing and you're at the end of your appointments, a really strong closing statement is something that I, recommend. If anybody comes from a corporate job, I'm sure a recruiter or your boss has one time told you this as well, right? You're not going to get the job unless you ask for it, right? And so your closing statement in real estate needs to be with that same mentality, right? You don't want to leave that meeting until you tell the seller flat out, if I earn your trust, I'm not going to let you down. We're going to get this home sold and we're going to do it together. Whatever comes naturally to you needs to be your closing statement, but you have to ask for the business. And this can be really difficult for agents or anybody to do. So practice, but you have to ask for the business. Very few people do. So if you do, you're going to be more likely to get the listing, in my opinion. The last thing I want to highlight for listings, and this is also involved in a listing pitch, is setting expectations, but also going through the operation of what it's like to sell a home. So what I mean by that is in New York City, specifically Zillow and StreetEasy. StreetEasy is a Zillow-owned company for Manhattan. They run numbers and it shows a crazy statistic that if you respond back to a buyer request within, I believe it's either a minute or 3 minutes, that buyer is more likely to respond to you inviting them in for a tour. So again, a minute to 3 minutes, like who can respond to emails that fast? You're not just sitting there waiting for their email. So having technology and the right automation so that you do get your touch points out that quickly is wildly important to sell a property. And it's going to mean the world to a seller that is interviewing you. And, for the agents that are with EXP, or if you're not with EXP, brokerages have CRM tools. We have KV Core. You can automate emails and text messages to go out immediately once someone has sent you an email requesting a showing or asking questions. So this is crucial. Have that process and your automation set up and tell the seller, like, I have this whole setup with the technology my broker provides. I respond to buyers and buyers agents within 10 seconds because of the technology that I have. That is so important. That could be more important than you just telling them all the deals you've done in that market, because you have the tools just to get the deal done quickly. So that's just something to think about when you're on a listing pitch. Before I go on, are there any questions?
Any thoughts on listings? Let me see if I see any. We got some thumbs up in the live stream, but no questions are there yet.
Okay.
Any questions, you guys? Any thoughts on listings or things that you would want to add to that?
With the agents that I've talked to, at least, I think agents very rarely go through the operational component of having a listing. And I think really creating your timeline of, and it can be like 2 pages or even 1 page of your sales pitch that just goes through. When people reach out for your home, this is how I reach out to them. This is my campaign back to them. It shows the seller that you're aggressive, that you're on it, that if someone doesn't reach out to you, you follow up with them time and time and time again. I mean, I have smart campaigns that go on for a year of touch points, right? I think we all do. It's when there's those consistent touch points. So really getting down to the nitty gritty with the seller, I don't think a lot of agents do, but I think it will go a long way. So. All right, let me go to the next page. So the last topic I'm going to talk about is just some communication tips. And this is definitely coming from my days at Marriott, but hopefully this will be helpful to you. I'm not going to read everything on the screen, but it's pretty amazing. This topic of perception, right? Perceptions 90% of the time are false, the way we perceive somebody else, but it's 100% of our reality with how we feel towards that person. So if you're having dialogue with clients and you're feeling like they're annoying you or they're asking you questions that you've already dealt with before, you don't want to ever come across that way and have the client perceive you in any negative light, because that's just going to work against you. So, let's touch base. This phrase is like super vague, just being very direct in your communications only going to help you grow your business. Sorry to bother you. It comes across a little weak. You're doing them a valuable service. We make people money, and you want to take your business and what you do seriously. So I would say agents are very rarely ever bothering clients. You're doing your job. So just changing that phrase into something a bit more productive is going to help clients, respect you. And then saying no problem. This is something I got in trouble with all the time at Marriott. When you say no problem, you're basically having the precedent be that there was a problem to begin with, which is a big no-no. So get into the habit of saying my pleasure versus just re-encouraging this idea of there was a problem when maybe there wasn't. Or if there was a problem, don't remind them that there was a problem. I've got one more page of this. The checking in. I can really fall into the checking in emails, and it's really hard not to, especially when you're busy. But checking in has no value because you're just saying, hey, I'm checking in, and it's not providing someone on the other end with anything that they can use. So coming up with like, I have an idea can have value. And the I have an idea tactic can do a lot for you. Maybe you found a blog or an article or something they can read and reference that's going to help them in their decision making. Or I like to do this made me think of you. And same idea, right? You're pulling information from somewhere else and then you're sending it to them. So there's added value. Easy changes, just a different way of approaching your business and how you're talking to people. And then also, like, I wanted to reach out. It's just very salesy. And I think most salespeople say this and like, look, no one's perfect. I get caught in doing these things too, right? But just reminding yourself to be specific in your communication. Say why you're reaching out and what you want for them, what you want the outcome to be, and if they have time. That's really the best way, I think, to ultimately get what you want or to know if you're wasting your own time or not. And that's the end of my presentation. This is for Q&A. Was this helpful for you at all? Was it a nice refresh and just new things to maybe think about and implement in your business? I am creating a larger course with some takeaways around managing customers better. It's going to include branding resources for your personal branding, also marketing materials with custom templates I've created in a system called Canva, and some more takeaways. So would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for having me, Cari.
Yeah, I love it. I love that last couple slides. Any comments on those? I mean, I do some of those things, but the phrases, yeah, I know, Terry, that's what I was thinking is, we get into habits of phrases and sometimes we actually create some of our own issues by using certain phrases. And it's really a great reminder. Does anybody else have any comments on that one? Anybody use any other phrases that they think works better? Because that's just an interesting topic in and of itself, Kat. Like we should be talking about all those phrases we use that we shouldn't use and what we should say instead. I love it.
I know. I have a larger list of phrases that you should replace that are going to be in the training course, but I think I have like over 20 of them. And
I love that.
it makes I think it does make a big difference because maybe clients are hearing from other agents when you're first trying to win them over. And most agents are going to do the good old checking in or this and that. So if you can just level up your communication, it can help you stand out, which is the whole point.
Jennifer says, I use no problem all the time. Yeah, I think a lot of us do, Jennifer. You're not alone.
Yeah, no. And I used to say that all the time on the phone. And when I was an admin at Marriott, multiple bosses were like, you're great on the phone, but you always say no problem. And you just it's out of your vocabulary. Marriott took that so seriously that I now say my pleasure even to like my family. And they're like, are you kidding? And it was like just grilled in my head. I mean, it's a good, it's a good habit to get out of, but
That's right. That's funny. Yeah. Like my pleasure and all formal to everybody,
Yeah.
better than saying no problem too much. Terry, what did you have to add?
Well, the one that I've had to train myself and I've trained other agents to do is do not use you said, he said, or I said. Always use mention instead. So doing that one, that's made a huge difference because if you say you said or I said, it puts a defense mechanism right up. When you say you mentioned, you kind of put a little bit of a question.
Yeah. See, and it's understanding like what perception means and how it can really impact your business. I mean, it can make it or break it. Because even if you're the best agent out there, if people perceive you the wrong way, it's their reality and they're not going to work with you. So I think the whole idea with this presentation and just really thinking about how you manage your customers is how do you think people perceive you? And how can you change your vocabulary and the way you communicate to have that just be better so that you can grow your business?
I love that. And there was another one, Marvin in here just chatted and he said, instead of saying, sorry for being late, you say, thank you for your patience. And I learned that one as well. Like, thank you so much for, your time. Like, thank you so much for your grace, thank you. And because most of the time they're like, yeah, no problem. Then they say, yeah, no problem. It's fine. But if you're apologizing, it comes across, it's making the situation worse basically. And it's putting you in a position where you look like you're doing wrong things. And look, we don't want to be late, but it happens. And so just those little things like that make such a huge difference. Thanks for that, Marvin. It's so true.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, think of some other phrases. We're going to have Kat back and she's going to be able to do, that would be a great one. Like literally we just do a mastermind on the phrases that we use that we should not be using. And we should go over your 20. But we'll also get information out to everybody on the course. And Kat is part of EXP Family Tree here. So she can be posting about that once that's solidified. The last thing before we go, Kat, I know you have like 2 minutes, is can you share a little bit about how you've been able to use your travel business alongside your real estate business and kind of have a higher level concierge service, especially for those of the people here that might work with investors, short-term rental investors, or people that are looking for second homes or relocation. I think it can be for all of clients, but those specific niches or markets, I think really lend themselves to this. And just in a nutshell and how they can get a hold of you if they want to talk more about it.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I own a travel agency that I've always been growing alongside my real estate business. And I think there are a couple ways where real estate and travel merge kind of together and, collaborate in so many ways. Specifically, I would say in relocation, if you're an agent that helps clients relocate, you could not only help them find a home in your given market, but you could book their flight, get them a car service to pick them up from the airport. You could find them a hotel to stay in, maybe in a neighborhood that you think they're really going to like, or help them find a short-term rental property to stay in. And then you can also take them on tours and help them find a home. So the relocation with combining real estate and travel is really seamless. From that lens. Another way you can combine the two is if you are working with a lot of investors and if you're in a market where people want to buy Airbnb style investment properties, if you align yourself with a travel agency, you're just going to get so much more knowledge and training and resources with how to advise that investor with what to think about when buying an Airbnb style property. You know, you already know the real estate side, but they're looking to attract travelers. They're not looking to attract a traditional tenant. So it's very different. If you align yourself with a travel agency, you're kind of like a Swiss Army knife. You're the best of both worlds, and you'll most likely win that investor over if they're really focused on short-term rental over, you know, any agent that just is working with investors. It's a really nice niche to get a part of. And then we also work with agents that are just passionate about travel and they love client service and they've wanted another service offering to their network of real estate clients when their real estate clients are not in the market to do a deal. Maybe you just help them close on their new home, and by, you know, you can monetize your database further by offering travel services and travel deals and promotions, etc., to them, to earn extra money, but to also stay top of mind for referrals and hopefully stay top of mind so that you get their listing eventually when they're ready to move on and sell and then buy again.
That is awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So information, can you chat in the chat box how they can get a hold of you if they want some information on that as well? We've talked to a few different people who have, like even Terry, where you are or in your surrounding areas, you know, there are a lot of short-term rental investors. There are a lot of people potentially buying a second home or relocating from the Northeast. And this is just interesting. Coach John Dietz was talking about what an amazing concierge service, how you could stand yourself apart from the competition. People who are doing luxury, you know, second homes and things of that nature, this might be something to look into. It can also just be a way that you provide more value in something totally different to your database and your sphere of influence. It could literally just be, you know what, I want to give you guys discounts because you know, those of you that like to travel can travel and now get a discount from me and a kind of an added value because you're in my database versus doing something different versus giving a gift card or something else. So, you know, just different ideas and different things. And we do have, if you go to my YouTube channel, Kat and I had a conversation about combining travel and real estate on a YouTube video. So you can go back there and watch it if you want before you reach out to Kat, or you can certainly go to her website or email her. She's also here in EXP, so you can work chat her. And thanks so much, Kat. I know you got to run. Thanks you guys for being here. Really, really good stuff. This will be out on my YouTube channel, you guys, within 24 hours. So take a peek at it again, or send it to somebody who might want to take a look at it. Have a great rest of your week. See you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.